Adobe Animate for the output of an animated GIF, and this animated GIF is going to be in a ePub document. So what I've got here is just an InDesign file with just some natural InDesign animation. You can see that InDesign for an ePub. I've got the animation file just here. So what I'm going to do is just quickly show you how this works, and I've got my animation palette here. Now to activate this, all you need to do is come down until it gets to, when you go down through the window here, just keep on going down until you get to interactive, and then you can just click on animation. In fact, you can go to the ePub interactivity preview panel. So just clicking on that just brings it straight up like so. So what I'm going to do is, there is this panel, you can see the animation, and I can just click on the different pages by going from 1 or 2. I've only got page 2 up at the moment. So actually let's go and just export this just for a minute. So if I just go File and I go Export, and we're going to a fixed layout output, so it's just fixed layout here. Now I've already exported this, it only takes a minute to do it anyway, but I'm just going to make it a little bit faster. I've got it opened up here, so I'll just double click on it, and here is the file here. So I can just drag this out a little bit bigger so we can see, and I've just got a couple of pages. And you'll see how it loads in here, and I've got an animation basically within an animation on this one just to move it, so you can do some quite cool things actually within the program itself. So I'll just go to the other page. What I'm going to do with this example is, if I just come back to my InDesign file here, I'm going to go and place in, let me show you what I'm going to place in. I'll just close this, a animated GIF, which is done with Adobe Animate, and that's sort of really what this tutorial is about today. So let's go and just have a look at what that's like when I place this in. So I'm going to go through here, and I'm just going to go File, and I'm going to go Place, and just to go to my animation window here, and the one I want is just today, I think it was, or the one we're going to do soon, and I'm going to open that. And I'm just going to, I've actually done it to 1024 by 768. And if I load that in there, you see it's actually got a little white fringe around it, just keep it nice and tight and clean, but it's just a straight animated GIF. Now if I come back to just to test my animation here, just so we get a bit of an idea for it, we've actually got animation within animation. Now I've just set that as a loop, but it shows you can actually build up, just like having still images, you can have animated images. So if I exported that now, that would just be part of the ePub. So of course you can test it from the animation panel itself, or as I showed you before, when you're testing ePubs, just simply come down through to interactive and come down to ePub interactivity preview, and it's basically the same thing that can be tested. And then it can go over both pages, only one showing here, but we've got one with the black, so which that type maybe not work so well on. So without further ado, I'm going to just take you through, and we're going to go and just have a look at this animation file just here. So I've been playing with a few, as you can see on the list there, but nonetheless, I'm going to open up Adobe Animate so we can actually check that out. So this is the 2022 version, so just the latest version as of July 14th, when this was sort of put together, this video anyway. So anyway, it's loading up, and we can just have a look at that particular file. And now within this file, I've just stayed with Shape Tween and a graphic symbol, because to have an animated GIF, it can't work with movie clips, and that was sort of the idea of putting this together. Or if you're doing some sort of loader that's going to go into your website, ePub, whatever, it's basically HTML5 anyway. So if I just play this and we just have a little bit of a look, we can see how that's going together for this little file. There's a shape tweening and just a graphic tween on a bit of a classic tween timeline there. Then we've got a classic tween with the same graphic, but if I just show you that again, and this is where it's going to be sort of using the motion tween, there's an animation within an animation in order to do that. So without further ado, we're going to get into and build this and just go back out to our animated GIF. Now just before I go through and build it, just want to show you an easy way to test something really quickly, especially on Mac, is if I just click on the animated GIF, I can drag that into a browser to view it, but on a Mac, you just hold the space bar and then it comes straight up, so we can clearly see it that way. And that's a quick example. So coming back just to the Adobe Animate again, if I just open that up there, this is what we're going to start building. So the next part 2 will be, as I'm getting into right now, part B, if you will, we'll start doing that. Part B here, we're just going to start putting together the Adobe Animate file. Now I just want to break this down just a little bit. So as we see here, the bottom one you see just sort of animates a little bit. And I want to show you this. I'm just going to unlock it here and then double click. So we're going into the timeline and you'll see we've got a Motion Tween, an extra animation. So it's an animation within an animation. And if I just click back, you can come back through the timeline here. And now, in fact, I'll open the other two. And if I click on these, actually I don't want to move the lines, they're by themselves. But if I double click on this first one, you'll see it's just a shape and it's just morphing. And it's not anything, it's not a graphic, it's a shape on the actual outer timeline all by itself. Lock that one. Where this one here is actually just a simple on its own keyframe without anything else. It's just one graphic. And here they are in the library on this side, and we can see that there's just the graphic T and the graphic T, which is the animation one, the first one. So let's go and build this. So what we need to do is come back all to the beginning, and the first part about this, we're just going to go through and build just the structure and just the first part, which is the morphing text at the beginning, which is a Shape Tween. So I'm going to go through here and set up my file. So if I just come through here, I go New or Command N. Of course, we're in Adobe Animate, and Adobe Animate does a lot more than what you think. You can work on social media, or actually we've got character animation, all sorts of starting files you can play with, see how they're put together, up to 4K, you name it, it's there, full HD, whatever. We've got social media outputs, and it also gives you the sizes. Now you can actually even use ActionScript and coding with these things as well, which actually gives you a big advantage when you're developing stuff for app design and whatever. But also will give you a frame rate depending on some of the things you're doing. See how this changes? And this is really great when you're actually working for different outputs. Game design, all the way through with the different apps you might be working with, education, ads, web, which is sort of great for all the outputs there, and even into sort of doing some really advanced stuff, HTML5 Canvas, ActionScript 3, Air for desktop, and on, even to 360 VR. As you say, or as I said before, this does a lot, this program, a lot to learn with it, but it's certainly really worthwhile getting into. And here's the different file sizes. I'm just going to come back to education, because that's what we're working with, and I'm just going to come down here, and I just want to click on a good little iPad size, which is, let's see, 2012 by, or well, depending on what size you want to go through. And if I come down here a little bit, just to make it, or actually right at the start here, just wanted the simple little iPad, click on that, and this is going to be landscape, so it's the width here, and 24 frames, okay? So I'm just going to go OK. So as it sort of just generates this file, what we will see is, hopefully it goes a bit quicker than that, that's good, it's just simply there's a timeline already started for you, just on the pointer tool up here. And what I'm going to do is just come over to, not from the library, nothing's in there, no assets or anything, but I'm just going to go to just the property setup. And I've got just a white stage. I'm not putting a graphic in there, I just want that to be transparent. It's 24 frames per second, and here's my size. And that's exactly what I want. Okay, now what I'm going to do with the first thing there is I'm going to come up and just get my, I could have any shape by the way, but I'm just going to get type because I want to play with type for this one. So I'm just going to bring in my type and just go and generate some type with it. So as it goes through here, take a little bit longer than ideally for this one as I load in all the fonts I want anyway, but I'm just going to click and that should just generate here. Now I've got mine set rather large actually, but if you'll see over the other side, I've just got a Rockwell bold and I've got 200 point here. So you can change to whatever's on your system and wherever you're pulling this from, etc. I've just loaded some type in just for this. But anyway, that's what I want. So I'm just going to start off nice and simple. I'm going to go just as a cat letter, and I'll just do T, and there it is, and just move it into place where I want it to start with. Okay, now the other thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to go and I'm going to save that right from the start because I just want this to be working really well. And I'm going to call it, well, I'm doing this actually on a, let's see what's today, it's a Tuesday, so I'm going to call it Tuesday, and I think I'll make it all caps there, which is looks a little bit better. So Tuesday, and now it is a flash file, which is Adobe Animate has taken from that, but it's sort of got a whole lot better, and they, of course, a while back changed the name to Adobe Animate. So I'm just going to save in there, and we're going to get in and build this. Now, because I want to do shape tweening, you have to work with shapes, and of course type is not a shape. So the first thing I want to do there is I want to convert it to just, or break it apart, if you will. So it's just, it's like Illustrator and Design when you're outlining fonts, similar to that, but we can just go and modify here and break apart. Now you can also just go Command B. Either way, I want to break it apart, and you see it's made up as a graphic now. Nothing here in the timeline. Now, you also see on the timeline down the bottom here, you can slide this to fit any way you want. So I want to use and see visible about 2 seconds. And that's what I'm going to use for this quick example. So with that, I need to set with this graphic here some time. Now to do time, I'm going to come up 2 seconds, which will be 24 frames, and 24 is 48. So I'll click on here. So I've just established it. And then I can go in my insert timeline, and all I want is just a frame, not a keyframe at this stage. In fact, I could go to a keyframe because I am going to move the graphic around, but I want some time in there. And I can do a frame and then add a keyframe. In this case, I think I'll just go straight to the keyframe. But some of them I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just use F5 for frame. But I put a keyframe in there, and here it is. With this keyframe, this is a different part in time. It's 2 seconds into the future. So I'm just going to drag this one over here. I'm just going to hold my Shift key just to constrain it. And there it is. It's on the other side. So if I click back here, there it is, that side, kaboom. So it's all the way through this time. So I want to actually tween it to a different shape. Now, just a bit of a trick. When you're going to do some fancy tweening stuff, just set your timeline up first and put your tween animation. Then you can create your keyframes easier afterwards. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click in the middle there anywhere, and you'll see just up in Insert, we've got all these things available. Now really the only one that's going to work for this is Shape Tween. So create a Shape Tween. Even though the other ones might be highlighted, that's all we can do with this one. And what that means, now you see we're sliding across those keyframes. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a keyframe in here. So I'm just going to add one in. So I can either go from up the top here, just from basically insert timeline, and I can put another keyframe in there. Or I can click down on the bottom here and just add control click at any stage as well. So if I was going to go control click, can add a keyframe in. And essentially, that's all you need to do, because as long as you've got a keyframe, then you can do something with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on that graphic. I'm going to animate it around by just turning it around like so. And I hold my Shift key just to constrain it. And, well, actually, I've gone a little bit too far there, but that might be a little bit better. I might even just expand it out a little bit. Hey, I might even come in here and change the color. So I'll click on color, and I'm just going to choose a new color, and there's the color there. Actually, that's not the right color. I don't want white. I think I'll just go to this color. Oops, still didn't go there, and that's better. Oh, strange, it's not clicking it. Okay, or any other color you want. So it's just going through there and just saving at the moment, and then we've got our extra color. So I probably clicked on a few too many there. But essentially, once it's in place with the color once more, and we go through our animation, you see it's actually morphing between these two shapes. Now, just to control this a little bit more, we can do what's called Shape Tween. So I'm just going to go File, and I'm just going to save that just once more. And I'm going to give the control of the animation by coming through here and just going through to modify, and I'm going to come down to shape, and I'm going to go to what's called shape hint, and you get a little character that comes out here, which I can just move up, and just A, B, C, D, etc. When you go to the next keyframe, you can just click on like so, and if you want to keep that same format, so it does a nice job tweening. In fact, where did I start from? On the right hand side there, and we can make sure that when it's on that keyframe, it will still be there. Now I can move it around and put it maybe on that side, and it's going to really start throwing it off in a different format. So it's up to you how you put the keyframes together. I'm going to keep mine over there, and I'm going to come back, and just to get that constrained a little bit better, make sure that's right on the corner there, and I'm going to add an additional keyframe in by just going from modify, coming down to my shape hint here, and just adding one more, and I'm going to put it on this side. Now I can keep on doing this, and when I come back to my timeline, it will be there, and I can actually put in the B shape. So it actually should start constraining it a little bit better. See how it's making it better? And that's lovely for this one now. I like that much better. Now, when we want to do it for the second side, you have to do it from keyframe to keyframe. So I will save this just once more, just to save it. And I'm going to come through here, and at this point, I can actually do it from keyframe to the end keyframe. So if I go modify and come down to shape, shape hint, and I'm going to just put this, I'll do it on this one at this stage, and just one to show you how this works, and then I have to come over to the end one, and you see you only have that one character available. So if I put that over here, or was it down here I was doing it, and we can see how that's going to start morphing. So that's how you do it from keyframe to keyframe each stage. Now one thing I'm just going to quickly change out here as well is if you want to get rid of any of these at any stage, we can just come down here back to the shape, and we can remove all shape hints from that keyframe, and I go back to the other keyframe, and I'm just going to go and do the same thing back to shape, and I'm just going to remove all hints. So we can put them in, and we can get rid of them, because what I want to do with this particular one here is come up to the file, and I'm just going to delete it. Yes, delete it, because at any stage we can go through and we can add in something a little bit different. So I'm just going to hold this down and just the fly out, and just get, say, just the oval tool here, and just going to drag out another shape, okay, and just go and click on it. So it's still a straight shape at this stage. I can just click on that if I wanted a color of any format, and there's the color, and just click off that. And now if we animate it, so you can actually at any stage swap shapes to get whatever you want. And I could go, of course, and add shape hints in there. So that's the first part of putting that together. So just initially getting that first line. So what we're going to do next is just going to put some lines in there, just as dividers, just put it together. And because I'm going to put the divider in there, I just really want it to go in thirds. So we can just, at any stage, move those graphics to fit. In fact, right in the middle of this, with that circle there, I might just click on that and just move it up here, just to give me some space to work with. So, of course, any stage coming back and reworking that. And, of course, saving it one more time. So, let's get on to just putting in the lines and formatting for the graphic symbols. Right, we've got our first layer put together. And, of course, what's wrong with this? Well, we better name it something. So, I'm going to double click on my timeline down here, and I'm just going to call it shape. So this is not a symbol, this is just a straight shape, and because it's a T, I'm just going to go underscore. In fact, I'm not going to go underscore, I'll just show you what happens here, and I just want shape T, and I hit the return key, and it's saying that it doesn't like this, and if I click OK, you see that it's putting the underscore in anyway, just so it's naming convention for later on if we're doing some other effects. Now one thing I might have just noticed also within this file here, I've got an invisible white graphic just down the bottom here, and I can see that when it's selected. So what I might do is just see if I can select that and just get rid of that, just because that actually probably playing with my effects and my shape clip. And I can actually just get the eraser tool here, in order to just put that together. Now, if I just go and play with that now, and just play it through by just clicking on the play button, now we can see that it's actually working to that half circle. Of course, what I can do with this one too, if I just click back into that center point, I might want to just get my brush tool here. Now you can use your bracket tools to make it bigger and smaller, but I'm just in the brush tool here, so I'm just going to brush that on just with the same color, just to add a bit of an eye effect in here. Now you really want to keep not separate graphics, but just one graphic. Now if I play that back and just play it forward now, let's see how that's looking. Now it doesn't need a little bit of shape to it, but in terms of shape hints, but nonetheless here it is working quite nicely. So I better just save it at this stage. So save. Let's go and add some other stuff in there, and of course we want some dividers. So what I'm going to do is keep all the animation to each layer. So I'm going to click on just my plus here, and I'm just going to call this lines, just because it's going to be the dividers, if you will. So I'm going to do my lines a slightly interesting way. I might want my rulers, so I can come up and just the view here and come down to the rulers if I just want to help myself just work things out. And I'm just going to divide. I've just put a line here so I get it nicely placed, and I think I'll do the same thing just down the bottom here and just get it all sorted. Actually, at any stage you can move that, so just move it up. Now if it's doing that, you know, a good thing to do is just make sure you go back to your pointer tool and you can just drag it this way. So that's looking pretty good just for my dividers. So for this I'm going to basically use my shape tool here in terms of not a rectangle, but I want to use something a little bit different. It's the shape rectangle primitive tool, and the reason I want to do that is I want to get nice rounded corners. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm pretty happy with that color. But of course you can change the color at any stage. I want quite a nice large area there, and that's good, but I want rounded corners on it. And if I was just to go back to my pointer tool here, so I'm in my pointer tool, I'm going to go just Command plus just to blow it up a little bit, and spacebar just to be able to move it around where I want. What I want to do is just click on just the points here and just drag it in. And if I just take it back to just fitting again, spacebar just to drag it back into shape, we can see that got lovely rounded corners just if I click outside that, and there we go. So I'm just going to hold my Option key just to duplicate. So it's just selected first and Option, and I'm just going to drag it down and hold my Shift key just to constrain it, and I just want to put my other two graphics in there. So I think I'll click that about there. That looks great. And so we've got our lines done. Now, I don't want to damage any of this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock both of these. So, you know, just look after your work and always save regularly. But what I want to do now for this particular file is I'm going to add in another layer here. This is where we're going to use a graphic symbol. Okay, so I'm going to call this, just to stay with graphics, just the naming convention, GR underscore, and I'm just going to call this just T, and then I'll call it, I'm going to stay with as it's a layer, so I'm just going to go just one more underscore, and I'm going to call it timeline, just so I keep my names nice and clear, and just hit the return key. So there you go, it's just right up the top here. Now what I want to use is the same T. So of course it's recognizing the timeline because we've already set that how wide it is, and it's sort of staying true to that all the way through. But at any stage you can hold your Command key and we can actually slide to different parts of the timeline. So just Command key on a Mac and then it's back where you want. Of course we want that full timeline. Okay, what I want is to put a keyframe in here. And I think I'm just going to use that same letter T in order to put things together rather than creating another graphic. But I could create any other graphic and then convert that to a symbol. So with my letter T here, I just need to unlock that just for the time being. So where it is shaped down the bottom. And so I can basically just click on it with the pointer tool, selected. So just edit, copy. So I'm just going to copy it there. And I'm just going to go edit and paste, but what I want to do is paste onto this layer. Make sure you're on the right layer. So here it is, and then I'm going to go edit, paste, just in place is fine, and then I can actually just drag it down here. So it's actually just lined up nicely and just fits in here really well. Okay, so one thing, actually, I've just deleted my lines here. So what happened to that? So that's where you have to be really careful when you're doing anything. So I'm just going to quickly just drag them back in there. Just unlock that. So you can actually turn anything off at any stage as well. So if anything's not visible, if you want to turn them all off, frankly, or lock them all this way, I'm just going back to my lines again, and I'm just going to quickly drag that there. So lines, just drag my shape, and it's recognizing that same one I had before. And what I want is for my, this is basically a fill. Actually, I've got a stroke of white on this one as well, which is actually kind of good for what I've got for my fringe, but we can get rid of that at any stage as well. And I'm just going to go to my fill and just get my another color there. Okay, that's exactly what I want. And I'm just going to do it again. Remember, Option, drag and shift, and we can just drop that like so. Great. So there they are, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to lock that off so I don't damage it this time. So that's locked off, and just come back to my major timeline. I'm going to lock off my Shape Tween. Remember, we'd copied that graphic and we'd put it into here, and here it is on this layer that we're working with. In fact, I click on it now, there it is. This is where we're going to convert it to a graphic. Now to do that, just come over to the Object tool, and you see there's a thing where you can convert to a symbol. You can also come in here just under Modify and convert to a symbol, or go F8. So I'm just going to do this one, just for this one, and I want to stay with a graphic. Now we can have buttons, which is BTN for the type when you're doing a button graphic, EMC for movie clip, and graphic GR, and just an underscore and then whatever it's going to be. But movie clip won't work with a GIF. That's the thing, only when you're getting to full-on video for major things or interactive stuff. So I just want to stay with graphic and just shape for the time being. So it's graphic, and I'm going to call this just lowercase, actually, just to keep good naming convention, and I'm just going to call it T. And I'm going to go OK. And now it's going to become as a graphic there, and you'll see what's happened in the library. It's actually stored it as a symbol. So there's an asset symbol stored here. Okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to do pretty much what I did before. I'm going to go all the way through to this side, and then I'm going to click at the end here, and this time I'm going to go Control click, and I want to go through and insert keyframe, not frame, keyframe, because we've already got a frame, but a keyframe. And that means I can move this along, hold my shift key just to constrain it, and just get it nicely into place there. That's great. And I'm basically on my timeline, if I move it back, it's either there or here. But what I want to do is actually put in a tween. So I can just click anywhere in that timeline. I can go back through and just go Insert, or I can Control click on it. See, we can't do Shape anymore. What we want to do is not Motion Tween, we want just a classic tween, and I'll click on that. And if you get a dotted line, that means something's not working, okay? So, and here we go, we've got this moving really nicely through. Now I am going to add a keyframe in the middle. Now I'm doing the full tween first because it's just easier than adding in the classic tween after classic tween. So I've got this, and I'm going to do this Control click or right click on a Mac, and I just want to go and insert another keyframe. So there is my keyframe. Fantastic. And with this one, what I'm going to do is go to my transform tools, and I'm just going to scale this up a little bit bigger here, and heck, I could even spin it around if I wanted to, just like I did the other one, and hold my shift key just to constrain it. That's cool. Might bring it down just a little bit there, and you see as we drag that through, we're getting this animation, and then it's sort of animating back there. So that's just with the symbol and just a classic tween. Now you can see what I've done here. When I thought that I had done my lines, I'd actually done it on the different keyframe, or I created the keyframe as I've added it in here. So if I want to go back to my original color here, I'm just going to make sure I save it first. This is how we can tweak that mistake. So I'm just going to lock this so I don't damage it, and I'm going to come back here and unlock it, and I'm going to click on that final keyframe, and I'm going to clear that keyframe. Okay, because we don't need any keyframe for this one. So if I just go Control click on it, we can see that we've got some other things here, and let's see we can actually clear the keyframe, or actually just remove frames here. And what I really want to do is just clear that keyframe. So I'll go like so, and there it is gone. And see, I've just got my same color all the way through, because I didn't need any animation for that. There's no point in having another keyframe. And I'm just going to save it down there. So that's just putting through the graphic. Okay, so the next part, what we're going to do is now going to do an animation with the Motion Tween, an animation within the animation on the timeline. So that'll just be the next part we're just going to do. Okay, so just the final part of putting this together before we export it as a animated GIF. We're just going to do some animation within animation as a graphic symbol. So let's see, we need something else on the timeline here. So what I'm going to do is I can actually click on this and it will make a layer above. So I'm just going to go like so. Oh, by the way, I want to make sure I've locked my lines. Remember how we did a little bit of a mistake there before, which was easy to rectify, as you saw. And this one, I'm just going to call this layer, just, I think I'll just go GR and Animate, and that should be fine. Already got the underscore there. So what I want to do now is, in order to do something with this, there's nothing on there. I'm just going to grab this symbol. So we're using symbols sort of within symbols, if you will. So I'm going to drag this symbol by just dragging it down here and just put it on my timeline. And there it is. And that's the same graphic. There's nothing in there, and it's not going to be any different to that one. But we're going to do one thing a little bit different. We're going to turn this into a symbol. So yes, it's going to be an embedded symbol with the animation, like I showed earlier. So how do we do that? Well, I'm going to come back to basically if I go back to just the properties here, it will reveal a slightly different graphic here, being the object. And now, rather than going and insert a key symbol, I'm just going to click up here and convert to symbol. Okay, so I'm clicking on that, and I'm going to call this, remember, graphic still, so GR underscore, and I'm going to call this just NI for animation, making sure it's just a bit different so I know what I'm working with and don't get confused about anything. So graphic, just the naming convention, and I'm just going to go OK. Now, if I went and double clicked on this one, so I'll double click on this one, this will take me into the timeline here, and it's still a graphic because it's actually pulling the first graphic, a symbol within the symbol, if you will. But what I want to do is I'm just going to come back to my timeline. I can do that at any stage by just clicking back to the arrow here, or just clicking back on Scene, and it takes me back to the outermost timeline. And this is similar when you're working with patterns and stuff in Illustrator as well. Of course, Illustrators work with symbols. By the way, you can bring any layered files directly and open them straight into Animate. It works great together because vector to vector. Just like sort of Photoshop and After Effects, I suppose, if you will. So let's go and put something into this file here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sort of set it up. I think I'm going to set it up first, just like the bottom one. So I'm going to come through and just go and click at the end here, and I'm going to control click or right click, and I'm going to just put in my symbol here, which is insert keyframe. Remember, keyframe. And like all the others, I'm going to drag this through and just shift to drag it and basically just line it up. Great, there it is on this side, and I'm going to put my normal classic tween like I did before. So I'm going to control click just here, and we don't want the motion tween yet, we want the classic tween, just like we did the first time. And here it is, it's just going through and just plain, more plain than the other one because we did some effects with it. Now what I'm going to do with this one is I think I'm just going to leave it just as a standard all the way through, because I'm going to add my animation just so it's a little bit clearer here. So all I need to do is just be on the keyframe. Well, actually I don't even need to be on the keyframe. to do this next part, because I can just come back up to the library here. So if I click on the library, and here's our new graphic, and I'm just going to double click on it from here. Now we've just gone into the symbol itself, and what I want to do is I want to now create not a keyframe this time, because I'm using Motion Tween. It's a little bit different. I just want to create some time. So if I come through there and just click on that, I can just go F5 actually, or control click, or if I just come back up in here, timeline, I just want to create a frame. See, F5, not a keyframe, I just want a frame, just so we've got some time. Now with this one, just like when we created classic tweens, so that's just selected at the moment, I am now going to come back in, and if we just click on this, we can't use Shape Tween, of course. We could use sort of Motion Tween, but it's not going to do anything. There's no other keyframe to go to. But there is this one, a classic tween, but we can use this one called Motion. So if I click on this, now the Motion, when you're doing that, has all sorts of other features you can add to it. I'm not covering that in this tutorial, but just really want to set up the basics. But what this means is anywhere along my timeline, in fact, I might just start from here. Actually, I'll make it a little bit simpler, about just thirds, and I'm going to move this one over there, and see we're getting a little bit of a movement here, and see how it's done a keyframe. So I'll move it somewhere else. You can do this as much as you like, and I'm going to take this one down here, and then I'm going to move it a bit short of this one just here, take it through, and then finally go all the way to the end here, and I'm just going to take it back to basically where it started from. Okay, there it is there. Okay, so if I just move this through my timeline, and if I just play that so you can see it, there we've got some animation. But I might not like the animation that's pretty rigid like that. So what you can do is you can actually go just to your white pointer tool here, which is the sub-selection tool, and if you hold your Option key and then just drag on, and you can create the handles here. So I just want to actually just make this just a little bit nicer in terms of how it's going to animate. Other side there, and that's about what I want there. And of course we can even line that up just nicely by just bringing the point up, and there you go. So if I just play that through now and play it, there we go, much smoother animation. So you can tweak this as much as you want, but I'm just going to save that now, just Command S, and we're good to go. So all I need to go to get back to my timeline is just like we did before. I can click back here, just the arrow key, it'll just take me back to the timeline. Because it's a graphic, it will show up in this timeline. When it's a movie clip, you do have to render it, and to render it to movie clip, you can actually just go and test it and just test movie from here, or just test, but I don't need it for this one because I'm just going to go and play it because I want a GIF, and that GIF has to stay with just with graphics. So see what we've got here? We've got some animation going on within that second just to move it around just nicely. So anyway, so we've actually essentially done everything we need to do now. We just need to render it. So if I just come through here and, or it is saved at this stage, now I'm actually good to go out. I'm going to go back to just my black key pointer tool here. So at any stage you can just go back and click that, or use the V to go back there. But now I'm just going to save it one more time. It is saved, that's great. So, which you need to do all the time. I just want to export it. So I'm going to go to export. Now you can go to different formats here, just the image. Export your movie, which give you a chance to do a ping sequence or whatever, which is you can actually load back into QuickTime and things like that as well. Or if you want individual transparent ping files, great way to do it. Export to media encoder, this is really what this one's going to do, but the real one I want here is just nice and simple export to an animated GIF. So I'm going to click on that, and what it's going to do is just go through the process of just loading up the animated GIF, and it'll bring that up and ready for me to export. And you can choose your colors from there as well. So as this loads up, Hopefully it's not going to take too long. Seems to be going a little bit slow on the computer today. Maybe too many things are open. But it's going to load up, and then essentially we just simply export it just as an animated GIF. So I'm going to bring this into view just a little bit better here when it just loads the file in. So it's just processing through there. Not taking too long, I hope, so that's good. Almost there. And I'm just going to want to bring that in just so we can see all the ways of setting that up. So that's what it looks like, and as you see, it's great because it's transparent, which is exactly what we want. So I'm just bringing this into view so we see everything here. So I've just got my colors here. Now I can have this going through once or forever. I can do a test from here as well. I'm not going to worry about this, but you can actually test it from here. I do want my transparency clicked, and I've just got it as a GIF. Selective is fine, and I want this matte to just be white because I've sort of got a little white edge around it, which is really good, just to make it a lot cleaner and sharper. Because GIFs don't have really soft edges on them, so it's good to have a little bit of a fringe. So I'm just going to save this now, and it's going to save the same name into that same folder, and basically it's going to end up with my GIF. So there you go, just saving it, which was the Tuesday file. And once I've got my GIF, just like we started off this quick little series of putting together this tutorial, we'll be able to load it into a web browser or basically into Adobe InDesign and an ePub like we did right at the start there. So I'm just going to just minimize this now so we can see it. So the Tuesday file I've got up here, if I just click on that and hit my spacebar again, there's our file working at the speed that it should. Nice little animated GIF. When I say little, it's 312, but it's not too big a size for doing your ePubs. You do have to consider how big you're doing stuff with web, of course, but nonetheless, that's working great with all the animation under the sun. So thank you for watching, and that was putting together an animated GIF with Adobe Animate through using shape tweening, morphing, and graphic symbol. Thank you very much.